young people and senior adults that were working back there.
That's a good idea, to get those generations.
Yeah, they just get them out, they work
each other.
together. I can be here for, 5 hours, this day, and this day. And, yeah,
That's neat.
It's really a neat way for a church to do ministry.
Yeah, just
that
have their,
is ministry.
Yes, a good draw during the week
Yeah.
for people just to come.
Yeah.
All right, so Pastor and I are all caught up. Do we have anything else to talk about? Should we just go ahead and wrap it up?
I don't know.
We do want to let everybody know, because of course everyone was super excited. If you are not following Pastor Kirkwood on social media, Faith Preston was born yesterday, Sunday at 2:04 p.m. She's a big girl.
Yeah.
She's 10 pounds, 10 ounces, 22 and a half inches long.
Good night.
Clearly gets that from Lauren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's funny. See, he wrote me at 2:35 and said at 2:04 the baby was born. I said, could you not have texted earlier?
Yeah. What have you been doing for 31 minutes? Come
What
on.
have you been doing for the last 30 minutes?
Yeah, so we, and also if anyone was wondering why I was kind of facilitating worship yesterday, that's because...
And you did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
It was great.
Thank you. Thankful for a good team and for Kirkwood having so many things in place. But Saturday night, I got the text. It was like, baby's not coming yet, but I don't think I can be at church tomorrow. So he made the right call on that.
Yeah.
For sure.
It was good for him to be there.
Well, tell us a little bit about your recent travels.
Yeah, we took off and went to, left on a Monday and flew into Zurich on Tuesday. And like I said yesterday, I didn't bribe him, but I told him, I said, I'm going to give you a really good tip. Can you take me to the Grossmünster, the great church, which is right in the heart of the old city of Zurich, right on the river there. And we're not supposed to treat everybody just alike. But he said, do you think you can do it in 15 minutes? And I said, I'll do it as close to 15 minutes as possible. So he took us down there. He said, I'm just going to drive around. So we flew down there to the church, got in, and I wanted to see his library, Zwingli. This was where Zwingli led the Swiss Reformation, which was ongoing at the exact same time of Luther's German Reformation without any knowledge between the two. I mean, they didn't have Twitter, and they didn't have Facebook, and they didn't have internet, and so he was doing this unbeknownst to Zwingli and vice versa. And it was fascinating. Zwingli left his library to the church, and I really wanted to see if any of that was left, if the church had any of it, and possibly could I see it, but I couldn't find anybody in there.
Oh, really?
So we did it, and that's just that's been a dream of mine to go there and see that place since my second pastor, since Timothy George wrote the book Theology of the Reformers, which has been 30 years ago now. And I read it, and it really sparked my interest in Zwingli, number one, and my interest in the Anabaptists. So I have to thank Dr. George for that. Great theologian, one of the greatest theologians of our day, honestly, and a tremendous man, very thoughtful and kind guy. And he did that for me, and I've always wanted to go there. And then I ended up, we sailed down the Rhine. The Rhine flows from south to north, by the way. And so we sailed down the Rhine, past a lot of Germany and a little bit of France and a lot of Germany.
Did you stop anywhere along there?
Oh, yeah. We stopped in Strasbourg, we stopped at, and Koblenz, we stopped at, and several other German. Cologne, we stopped in Cologne.
Were these new places to you, or have you been there before?
No, I've been to all of them
Okay.
before, with the exception of one place in the Netherlands, which really was just where these dikes and these windmills are. I'd never been to that place before. And then we ended up in Amsterdam, and we stayed a couple of extra days. And I found the old Mennonite church there that goes back to the Dutch Waterlander, which is exactly how it sounds. You spell it just exactly the way it sounds. Mennonites, who were led by Menno Simons, and who was an Anabaptist, and they baptized. And I talked about, or I did yesterday, I talked about how Smythe and Helwys took the congregation from England over there when persecution began in England, or was ongoing in England, the separatists and the nonconformists, and they went there because there was religious freedom for a period of time in Amsterdam. So they go there, meet up with the Waterlanders, realize that this is New Testament. They're very open to that. They want to be New Testament, so they're baptized. They come back and they are Baptists.
Okay.
And so some of them, as they come back to England, reestablish in England, because of the persecution then going on in Amsterdam, a group of them leave England and get on the Mayflower. And so I was talking to Julie yesterday. Julie is such a great historian herself, McGuffey. And she was saying, you mean to tell me that there were, nonconformists or separatists or Baptists that were pilgrims? Well, essentially, yes, because they were on board the ship with the pilgrims that came to Plymouth Rock. And even though they would be distinguished as Baptists or nonconformists, even the pilgrims to an extent were nonconformists and separatists. To an extent they were,
Right.
because they had left the Church of England. So anyway, that's my trip.
Interesting.
That's in between all of that, shoe shops. Ladies' shoes, ladies' shoes, ladies' shoes.
You're big on ladies' shoes.
Ladies. No. Please, don't get that started. No. But my wife is.
Well, not just that though. You
Yeah.
mentioned chocolate.
Oh,
You
gosh.
mentioned some chocolate.
You've got Swiss chocolate, and then you get German chocolate, and then you get Belgium chocolate, and then you end up with Dutch chocolate.
So do you
And
have a favorite?
Yes, no, just chocolate.
Just
Just the chocolate.
do you like dark chocolate, milk chocolate, or you really do like all of it?
I'll eat dark chocolate. I prefer the milk chocolate,
Yes.
which is naturally not good for you.
No,
The
yeah.
dark chocolate is better.
Yes.
Every time I eat it, I tell my wife, it's dark chocolate, it's good for my heart. So, anyway.
Right. So on that note,
Yeah.
I know
On
this
chocolate.
is when he's really like, boy, I wish Kirkwood was here today. I did look up some chocolate trivia for you.
Oh,
Some
okay.
interesting, and I learned some things, so I was going to share some with you.
Oh, okay.
Kirk always wants to know where I
Yeah,
got my
yeah.
information from. It's from mentalfloss.com.
Mental
Okay,
floss.
mentalfloss.com. Reputable site for trivia. As far as I know, if it's not, feel free to break me in the
I need
comments.
to look that up.
I know I like that name, Mental Floss.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you know that there is a World Chocolate Day?
Yeah, probably.
Of course, 'cause
There's
there's a World Day for
something
everything, right?
Yeah.
It's July 7th, and it's supposed to be the day that in 1550 that chocolate was brought to Europe.
Oh,
Supposed to
Where
be.
did it come from?
They didn't say about that one, but some people think that it actually came a little bit earlier in that year, courtesy of Christopher Columbus.
Yeah. Oh, it came out of the cocoa beans from in the Caribbean.
I'll take
I've
your word
seen
for it.
cocoa.
Mental Floss doesn't reference that. but
Cocoa
I believe you.
bushes or cocoa trees. They've got the cocoa pods on them.
So is cocoa the same thing as cacao? Are those
No,
different?
yeah, that's different.
Okay.
What,
Because cacao has something to do with chocolate as well.
oh, I thought you were making reference to that crazy thing I said about cows yesterday.
Cowbolism?
Yeah,
No.
cannibalism. Cannibalism.
No. Okay, we'll worry about that later. There are several days. The one I think is most interesting, there are lots of different international, national, whatever days, but there is a National Bittersweet Chocolate with Almonds Day on November 7th. So that's coming up
They're literally.
in just a little over a week if you want to celebrate that.
Okay.
All right, so let me appeal to the historian in you. Do you know what female historic icon loved hot chocolate?
Yes, my wife. No.
In addition to her, a
Female.
little bit older than her.
Icon. I guess I would, let me just pick randomly. It's going to be out of the British royal family. Was it Queen Elizabeth or Queen Victoria?
No, wrong country.
Oh.
Marie Antoinette.
Oh, okay.
Says not only did she love cake, but she also loved like modern day hot chocolate, which is the sweeter chocolate
Yeah.
we were talking about. Because
Yeah.
original hot chocolate was like more bitter and apparently used in like ceremonies and stuff by the
Yeah.
Aztecs, things like that. I wouldn't have liked it. I know that
Huh.
from the description.
That's
Okay.
interesting.
Couple more that I thought were interesting. Do you know which company started the heart-shaped box of chocolate?
Oh, Lord, no. Whitman's.
No, Cadbury.
Cadbury.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know Cadbury preceded. Maybe they didn't. Whitman's. I love Cadbury stuff.
I do. Oh, I love their milk chocolate is one of the
Really
best.
good, yeah.
Agreed.
You know, I'll get the king size Hershey bar, and it's a little thicker, and I'll break. You know, they have it divided into 3, so I'll break off one little section of 3, and I'll eat that a day.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Oh,
Generally
just
at
3 a
night,
day?
something.
Okay.
Yeah, just 3 of those little pieces. Not 3. I wish I had 3, but just the 3 little pieces, and I'll just sit there, and I will not bite it. I'll just let it melt in my mouth.
do you like the symphony bars? Have you had those that
I
have
have
like
not
the
had that.
toffee and the nuts and
Well,
stuff
I
in them?
love talk. In fact, I've got one. I'm flying out in a little bit, but one of the things I packed is I picked up 3 bars of chocolate before I left the airport in Amsterdam. And one is this milk chocolate with hazelnuts and caramel.
Oh, that sounds good.
So I've got that in my bag. I'm gonna give that a shot.
That may be kind of comparable. So do not use your fancy chocolate for this, but I did learn a recipe hack a few years ago that is just fabulous. You make whatever brownie mix you want to that you like normally make for a pan of brownies. You put half of it in the pan, you put 2 symphony bars on top of that, and then you put the rest of the mix on top
Oh my word.
and bake it. It's fabulous. It's really good and so easy. I'm all about easy
A
recipes.
little piece of chocolate with a cup of coffee, a hot cup of coffee.
Yes.
Oh, there's just nothing
Yeah,
better.
like Dubai chocolate. It's like those big bars of chocolate.
Dubai chocolate,
And inside, it's like this like crunchy. It looks like hay almost.
Crunchy
And it's-
hay.
Yeah, and then they have pistachio, like the cream. It's like real popular on social media right now.
Oh, gotcha. Have you had it?
From Dubai?
It looks unreal.
It would be
I think
good
it's
buy.
like made in Dubai, like
Yeah.
But they make it. Everybody starts making it now.
Yeah.
It's just real. I see it all over social media.
Interesting. I haven't had it.
Patty, I'd like to just give it a try.
All right, couple more.
Okay.
What historic military figure was known to love chocolate and even kept it with him in order to get like an energy boost?
Boy, I don't know. You just stumping me all over the place today. I know that Dr. Vines used to keep a chocolate drawer in his office because he is addicted to chocolate. But I don't know about the military figure.
Napoleon.
Oh, was it Napoleon?
Mm-hmm.
Napoleon.
All right, there's a little Napoleon Dynamite reference too for this. Napoleon. All right, 2 more, and then we'll move on to the sermon recap.
Okay.
Which is why everyone's here in the first place. Did you know that baker's chocolate isn't just for baking?
I didn't know that, but I don't really like the taste of baker's chocolate.
Well, so I assumed that
Yeah.
baker's chocolate meant that's for baking. It is just named after Dr. James Baker, who founded the chocolate company Walter Baker Chocolate.
You know, Mom used to have baker's chocolate, and I'd get into it from time to time, but it just didn't taste the same. It
No.
tastes like it was missing something.
Yes, well, that's what they intended, and they also didn't necessarily intend it to be just for baking.
Yep. Okay.
All right, last but not least, and this was the most interesting to me because my husband's favorite cake is German chocolate cake. His
mine
cake,
too.
really? Okay. His cake at our wedding was German chocolate. Huge fan. Did you know it's not from Germany?
I did. And I
Okay.
figured that out on this trip to Germany because they kept feeding us this Black Forest cake.
Right. Now that
And,
is German.
You know,
yeah.
and I thought, well, where's the German chocolate cake? Not from there. It's from here.
Do you know where?
Um,
Because this is especially interesting.
is
to
it in
me.
Pennsylvania?
No. It's somewhere you've lived.
Is that right?
Uh huh.
Gosh, I don't know.
It's from a lady in Texas.
How about that?
And
I read about it, and she just named it German.
So she used German's chocolate
That's right.
in
That's
the
right.
cake.
Yeah.
The recipe was published in a Dallas newspaper in 1957.
Yes, because that's where my mama got it from.
Okay.
And that is the
Probably
best
the original
recipe.
one. Do you still
Best.
have it?
No, but I know that to be true
I'm sure we can find it.
because there's a lady in Texas who makes the exact same cake, and she'll make them for me from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And if she's coming to see us or coming through somewhere, she'll bring a cake with her for me.
I'll have
the
to look
last
up the
time I
recipe.
did it, she flew into Dallas. I was there. We had flown into. She flew into Dallas, brought me a German chocolate cake, and what can you do? You're in a hotel, so I just got in the bed, And I looked at Debbie and I said, now leave me alone. Don't
We
say
can't,
anything
because you
to
can't
me.
travel with it. Like,
No,
what are you
you
supposed to
can't.
do? Yeah.
So I ate about a fourth of that cake like that night. It is the best cake. My mom used to make that for my birthday.
I'm gonna look up this original recipe and make it for Ken. See if he likes it.
Do that.
I have
And bring me a slice.
an
Okay.
incredibly interesting German/Texas fact
Let's-
for you.
Is
I
that
don't
right?
know if I need to come.
Is it okay if I listen?
Yeah,
to-
I'm gonna
okay.
come on because
Come
I want
on,
the whole world to
join
hear
us.
this.
Uh-oh.
An interesting German slash
This is
Texas
German slash
fact.
Texas fact. So my grandmother,
Yeah.
she's from Germany,
Right.
and moved to the States when she was 11, and she had to stay with this family just while they were transitioning from Germany to the States.
Yeah.
And this family was very wealthy, and they were in San Antonio, Texas, and they were building a new water park, and so they were trying to come up with a name for this water park, and my grandmother, being from Germany, said you should name it Schlitterbahn, and now there's a famous water park in Texas called Schlitterbahn. It was named because my grandmother said that's German for water park.
How about that? There's a
You ever heard of Schlitterbahn?
huge,
No?
Really?
there's a
It's a huge water
huge
park.
German population down not far from out of there in
Yeah.
Green, Texas.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there is a Munster, Texas, and it is up toward Gainesville, and there's a big German population. Texas has a big German population.
Yeah, she's German,
How
and
about
she's
that?
there, and the water park
That's
was
neat.
named after her. I don't know if it's still running, but it was a huge water park way back before my time.
Interesting.
How about
So
that?
she just like threw that out to a friend and they just ran with it?
She threw it out to the family.
Yeah.
They were building this water park, and they were like, "We need a name for this," and she was like, "Name it Schlitterbahn," and they did it.
And they were like,
it was
"Okay."
Super popular. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's still open or not, but
I so regret not taking German. I took French, and I so regret not taking German. And I asked my wife when I finished my PhD, I said, can I go and take, I said, I think I'm going to go and take, she said, you can think again. I said, she said, we got all the degrees we're going to get.
Well, just
So,
get you the Duolingo app and.
yeah, I need to do that.
Because German, I will say, so I retained very little of it, sadly.
take it?
But I took German and French in college as part of my music degree.
Right.
It was the most fun to learn, in my
Oh.
opinion. Yeah, I enjoyed it more than French.
Yeah.
So,
it's
Well,
still open.
Schlitterbahn is still open, guys.
Where does it say it
Update.
It's in
is?
Galveston.
It's in Galveston. Huh.
What are their hours today?
We'll just
we're
fly-
taking
let's
the
just
Valley
fly
Hill
out there.
trip. It says they're closed right
Oh.
now, but they open at 11 a.m.
Oh, okay. All
We
right.
could be there.
Yes.
You got that? you
Put
got
the
church's
address in
private
ways
jet
and let's
ready?
see how much time we
Okay.
need. All right, so moving on to the sermon.
Okay.
So next week or the following week is the culmination of your Joseph series, is
No,
that right?
I decided, no, I'm gonna go on and keep moving through Joseph.
Okay.
It's kind of, you just miss so much if I cut it off right at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this coming Sunday is going to be, I wish I had the booklet. I'm gonna look and walk through the Joseph Project. What is the Joseph Project? I gave the background because Joseph tells Pharaoh, this is what you've got to do. This is what's about to happen, and it's about to come fast. So you've got to move expeditiously. So he tells him the plan. I mean, he doesn't have to go think about it or get a couple of planners together or a group together and say, let's brainstorm this thing. God gives him the plan. He says, you got to find for a man discerning, wise, set him over the land of Egypt. Let him take action, to appoint overseers in charge of the land and exact a fifth of the produce of the land in Egypt for the next 7 years of abundance.
Yeah.
So that they stored it up, and they do just exactly that. And by the end of the 7 years of severity of famine, the people are out of everything. They've cashed in everything, all their stock, all their animals, they've gone through all of their resources. And so Joseph comes to him and says, now listen, this is what we'll do. Sell me your land. I'll buy your land from you. And in doing that, you can farm the land. And in your farming, you can keep 4/5, and you'll give 1/5 to 20% to Pharaoh. And they said, that saves us. you know.
Yeah.
We can do that. So they go into sharecropping, essentially what we understand to be sharecropping. And they do it, and they're thankful to do it because he gives them not only the food to eat in that year, but he gives them a lot of the grain as seed. So that's where they still have enough when the land returns to its usefulness, they've got seed that they can plant.
So that was so encouraging to me, is that Joseph was ready
Yeah.
with an answer for Pharaoh, and it was because of what you've been calling the Joseph Project.
Right.
All of those years of what seemed like, what is
Yeah.
this poor guy going to go through next,
Yeah.
right? Just trial after trial. And I feel like that was so encouraging, certainly as an individual, but also for us as a church.
Yeah. You know, churches as well as individuals go through difficult days, and then you have times where there are really good and abundant times. And the wisdom in all of that is you can't just go through everything through good days. You need to be wise enough to set aside, you know. My dad always said, son, tithe 10%, save 10%, live on the rest. And I've tried to do that in my life, and God has blessed us greatly because of that. God has just provided for everything that we've needed, and that's just a simple way. I'm not a financial person at all, and don't even pretend to be, and I don't care, you know. But I think the church is in the same place. We need to be setting aside so much for the days ahead. We don't know what's ahead. Well, in a sense, we do. And in a sense, we really don't. We don't know what next year is going to bring, whether it's going to be recession, whether it will be, you know, another banner year for the stock market or whatever. But we need to be people that are prepared for that.
Right.
The Old Testament is full of that. And I think the New Testament talks about being faithful in that sense. Have some godly sense when it comes to what your finances. That's why we try to help young couples here on Wednesday nights through a series that we do on helping them get out of debt, mainly credit card debt, so that you can begin to pay a little extra on your house each
Right.
month. That comes right off the principal when you do that. So that's how we did that.
I was about to say, the
We-
church modeled that very well.
We did that in our own personal lives. We got to where we had no debt, so we were able to pay X number of dollars more each month on our house. Until now, we have no house payment.
Fine.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Which is where you want to get to. It'll take you time to get there, but you can get there.
Well, in the church, you know, doing what they needed to do to finally pay off that debt and burn
Paid the
note.
debt off here at the church. We've got some building that we need to do, but we're not going to do it until the money is there to do the building.
Right.
And in the meantime, we can all just tighten our belts and, you know, squeeze ourselves in. It's the educational space that we are so
Yes.
in need of.
Yeah, and your point through all of this, the Joseph Project vision events that we've had, and again, what you said you're going to reiterate, is that you feel like the Lord has been preparing our church. All
I
these
think so.
details that we
Yeah.
maybe we're not even aware of, they're kind of culminating in.
Yeah. We expect
Yes.
by the end of this year that we'll be almost $3 million or so to the good that we'll have in the bank. And we just don't go grab that and go nuts with it. You know, let's have a plan. Let's be prepared. Let's look at this and see what are our needs going to be 2, 3, 4 years. What are our needs right now?
Right.
And do it in a very, I think, God-honoring type of way.
Well, and I loved the vision that you cast even at the end of the service yesterday. And in your sermon notes, this is what it reads. It says that God cared about them, all of
Yeah.
the people that
Yeah.
this benefited, tribes of people that we don't know, families with names that we haven't heard before and may never even hear. And I loved you had several examples of what you want this church to be
Yeah.
in this community and in the world in the future.
Yeah. It says the people of all the earth came to Egypt. Now, you know, you have to get in, you have to understand, when you do interpretation, this is what in teaching, preaching, there's a part that I have to go through and say, you have to understand, you know, parts of speech and, you know, those kind of things, simile and metaphor and, you know, those kind of things. It doesn't literally mean that the American Indians got in canoes and came over there. No, it's the world in which they lived. It was the world that they knew.
Right.
So that's what he's saying. And of course, it was connected to the rest of Africa. What about all the Africans there? It was connected to the Middle East. What about all of the Arabs that were there? It was connected to Europe by that. It's basically a land bridge to all of those Europeans that were there. They knew people around the Mediterranean world. What about all of those folks? Well, those folks came there
Right.
And got food. Why? Because God cared for them.
Right.
We didn't know who they were. These Egyptians didn't know who they were. The Jews didn't know who they were. But God knew who they were. God knew that they were hungry, and God provided for them.
Right. Right.
So what are we, the church, to do? The exact same thing. We've got people that have not even been born yet that will come into this church one day.
Marriages that haven't even
Marriages that have
happened
not
yet,
even taken
yep,
place yet. You know, families that have not even been born yet, that will, bar the second coming of Christ, they'll come to this church.
Yeah.
And this church, at this moment, in the blessing that God has given to us, we have an opportunity to prepare for them for folks we'll never see.
Right. Right.
You know, 20 years from now, I won't be here, and there will be folks that will come here and will be trained here in the Word of God, and will hear the gospel, and will hear a mission call, and I will have been a part of that.
Right. That's
Now,
exciting.
Isn't that wonderful?
I think it's really exciting.
I want to be a part of a church like that.
Before we go, is there
Okay.
anything that you would invite our church family to be doing between now and specifically November 17th, in
Oh.
addition to what we've already?
Yeah. I'd say pray. You know, really have a time where you and your family get together. Have a family altar and just come together and pray. Pray for the church. Pray for the Joseph Project. Pray for what God wants to do in your life and in your family through this. Because God will do some things in some families that will commit to this, it will show up in the details.
Absolutely.
It'll show up in the details when they look back and say, wow, we did this, and God, we can see where God was in all of
And
it.
how he used it.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
There is a prayer guide in the Joseph Project booklet.
Yes, and it's a great one.
if
Did
you-
you do that?
We actually, that's the same one that we used with the Make initiative. So I believe,
Well,
staff, you don't remember it from that?
I don't, yeah, I don't. That's
No,
too
not the
far
Make
back.
initiative. That's too far back for me too. I wasn't
Yeah.
even here for those. One Heart.
Yeah.
One Heart.
Well,
But
anyway,
it's
it's
in
a
that
good
booklet. It's also online. If you go to if you go to
Mm-hmm.
valleydale.org/the Joseph Project, you can access that booklet online as well and use that. So,
Good.
well, thank you, Pastor Mac.
Good, thank you.
Have safe travels today.
Thanks.
We'll see you
Appreciate
back
it.
on Sunday.
I'll be back.
All right. See y'all. I'm not kicking, so if anybody's kicking,
Goodbye,
it's
Pastor.
you.
I'll say goodbye, Pastor. Goodbye, Kirkwood. Wake up.